check out Cajun Lights, your complete dog hunting outfitter. Tracking equipment, leashes, collars, dog supplies, and much, much more. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. And don't forget their outstanding lineup of lights. You can find it all at CajunLights.com. You know what app I use on my phone more than any other app, besides the podcast app, to listen to this here podcast? I use onX. onX Maps is the most comprehensive mapping system for hunters on the market today. I use it all the time. When I was in New Mexico, I was looking at 40,000 acres of ranch that I needed to learn. I flip open onX and just start studying the map. When I'm riding trails, I put the tracking app on. It helps me get around in strange country. I could mark water sources, food sources, bear sign, just all kinds of options within onX. You need to check out onX Maps by going to houndsmanxp.com. Click on the link on our sponsor page. You'll go right to onX Maps, and when you check out, enter the code HXP20 and you will get 20% off of your order. Know where you stand with onX. Elite nutrition products are the hottest thing on the market right now for dog and horse owners. And Houndsman XP is a dealer. You can find all their products on our website at houndsmanxp.com. Over the past 5 years, you've tuned into this podcast, and I don't take it lightly. We have built a mutual trust. And when I recommend a product, it's because I believe in it, I use it, and I'm given my seal of approval for that. I'm putting my name on that. And with Elite Nutrition products, I do trust it. I do use it. I've seen great results with their essential dogs, their pre and probiotics, their tick-borne disease treatment. It's all natural. It's a great alternative to pharmaceuticals when used appropriately. If you expect extreme performance, you need Elite Nutrition. Available from houndsmanxp.com.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome back for another episode of the Falconry Chronicles podcast, and I'm going to go ahead and take the time for the intro for this episode to go ahead and make the official announcement that, unfortunately, I've decided to go ahead and cancel the Extras membership. I really didn't have quite enough interest to warrant continuing on with it. That being said, for those of you that did sign up for it and were members for a while there, thank you again so much for that. It really meant a lot, and it did help a lot towards some of the extra expenses for a while there that basically are incurred monthly for me for the podcast. So, like I said, thank you again so much for that. I don't know if I'll ever continue it again, but as of right now, there's just too much going on, and once again, everything goes back to juice versus squeeze. I can't keep justifying it at the moment, but I hope that for those of you that did sign up, you enjoyed it while it lasted there, and that folder is going to continue to remain active for you all. And the episodes that were in that, I won't be re-airing or anything. Those will be exclusive to you all still. So anyway, just make sure you hold on to that link. It's going to continue to be active, and you can go back and listen to those whenever you like. And once again, like I said, thank you so much, and I really, really appreciate it. That being said, I am going to continue doing the Falconry Follies content every so often, mixing it in with some other odds and ends stuff just to kind of introduce new things every so often. And they'll just be a part of the normal episode count that I publish each week. And this episode was the Falconry Follies content that I recorded at the end of the episode that I did with Ken Hooke. So we're going to circle back to that this week, and then starting next week, we're going to be pretty current with episodes that I recorded recently in Kansas, and we should be pretty current, hopefully, from here on out for a while. So anyway, enjoy this episode, and you'll have that to look forward to starting next week. So here we go. We're back again here, and now we're going to talk some Falconry Follies stuff here. So we, one thing I've been trying to to do with current and even some past guests is make some recordings where, of course, we can discuss some of the mistakes that we've made and so that, we can learn from each other and hopefully the birds ultimately benefit in the end down the road with it all. But that being said, I mean, I guess let's just jump right in and what were some of the initial like biggest learning curves that you had whenever you got into falconry and were learning all this stuff?
Newbie, British Columbia, wanted to get an IS Cooper's hawk. I'd had a little bit of experience with a red tail, and I can remember my mentor said, "Don't do it, but go ahead. Here's where the nest is." And there was a gentleman that made a documentary called Falconry. And I can't remember the name. He was a Polish fellow. And I remember going into the forest. The map was highly detailed. And I remember going to the tree and looking up, and I saw the nest, and I went, bingo. And I remember hearing this voice, bingo. And he was up there climbing the tree, taking an IS Cooper's hawk. And I said, "Would you get me one?" So he lowered it down. And I have been in the pet business basically for 50 years and raised parrots from chicks, and didn't know anything about raising an IS hawk, let alone an accipiter, let alone a Cooper's hawk. And I did everything wrong. But it was a nice, tame, manned bird. It was great. And I had to leave for about a week. I gave the bird to the mentor to look after. And I came back. The bird it was like it was a different bird. It had grown up, and the feathers, the bird fledged while I was gone. And I remember hunting I call them dicky birds. They were little black birds in a grain silo. And I threw the bird off, and the bird missed the dicky bird and came back and hit me right in the face. Took a big cut out of my nose, and I was then afraid of the bird. And, I remember calling my mentor, and I said, "What do I do?" And he goes, "Just let the damn thing go. You got thousands of dicky birds there. That bird's going to be fine." And never saw the bird again. I remember the landowner. It was at a dairy farm. He goes, "Oh, I see that bird killing all these dicky birds. I love it." So I never saw the bird again, but he always said something. So I think the bird did fine. So if you're not experienced, don't get an IS, and don't get an IS Cooper's hawk. I learned that real quick.
Isn't that hilarious though? I mean, like literally, first year general, the first thing they always want to do. And I feel comfortable saying this because I wanted to do the same thing. They, especially if they've had a really good first 2 years as an apprentice or whatever, IS Cooper's hawk, let's go, baby. We're just gonna jump right in. There's nothing in the world that can stop me here, and so on and so forth. It's just the world is yours to conquer, right? Yeah. There's been plenty of people that I'm sure that I know have pulled it off, but
not
to
a
that
newbie.
end,
Not a newbie. I had never even seen a Cooper's hawk. I just read it in one of Frank Beebe's books. But, that's what I got. That's what I need. I got lots of dicky birds. And because I can raise parrots, I'll be able to raise an accipiter. And didn't work out too well. Did not work out too well.
I've got a few friends that were able to pull it off. And once again, you got to go back, I think, to what your definition of success is. But
sure.
There's some guys that I know that have very young, very fresh, generals are young, still very young in their falconry careers that pulled off, that whole experience. But like, they've not done it again since then, to that end. I mean, like I said, it seems like it's, as far as, I mean, even just lumping the whole terminology in and whatever, like, it seems like overall you're an accipiter guy a lot, or you're not, anyway. But all that being said, it really is just hilarious how many people want to make that jump. And, I mean, as the old saying goes, there's very few people that know more than a first year general falconer, and, y'all go through those little phases like that. But yeah, I mean, I actually climbed, a tree and got in my own nest and actually pulled my own IS coop, and the thing ended up dying on me 2 weeks later. I didn't even get the chance to do any of that stuff. I mean, it kind of just stopped continuing to develop, and the nest mate that I pulled for another, pulled at the same time that another falconer took, that bird was fine. And this particular bird, had the couple of knowledgeable people that I talked to about it, said there was a suspected congenital heart defect or something, why it didn't, it just kind of stopped developing or something. But yeah, that's hilarious that you said that, because that's something that is, I think, is a very common theme in our community is fresh general. By God, we're going to jump to what's widely considered to be the hardest thing or one of the hardest things to take on, just because, by God, we can handle it, Yeah,
I'll invent the wheel. They don't know what they're talking about. I'll invent the wheel. But back then, there was nothing really written about them. You couldn't go online or anything like that. And then years passed, and Michael McDermott with the recipe, the book, and everything like that. There's been so many successful falconers that have raised IS birds, accipiters, Tyler Sladen, just to name one, but didn't have any of that back then. And again, young guy, I'm going to reinvent the wheel. I can do it. Another story, another accipiter. I've got great accipiter stories. I had a Finnish goshawk. It was a nice, calm bird. It was. I got it from a breeder in Ontario. I remember flying it at jackrabbits, and it had taken a couple of young ones, and we were in a field, in a treed area, and it caught a horned owl. Took it right out of the air. At first I went, wow, that's really cool. And then I realized it was a horned owl. So I get there, and the owl's got both the goshawk's legs. The goshawk's got both the owl's legs. So it was like a standstill. Like, we're even here. So, like, what do? You're trying to protect the bird, but you're trying to save the owl as well. So you're prying the legs and the talons out of each other. And luckily, a landowner came in and goes, "What's going on here?" So I'm going like this and screaming, and we were able to get the owl off. And that bird caught two other horned owls, and both times, three times, I've had to separate the birds, and the goshawks didn't get a chance to eat the owl. And we caught a jackrabbit, and I went up to the bird like I always did, and it took a look at me sideways, and it jumped off and it grabbed my face. And I went, oh, I mean, there was blood everywhere. Luckily, it didn't take an eye. So I got the bird, went to a landowner that I didn't even know, blood all over my face, and he's going, "What the hell happened to you?" And I said, "Oh, it's my bird." And he goes, "Well, I bet you had a good day. You must be enjoying that falconry," because I waved to them, and so it wasn't as bad as the cuts and the scrapes. And that bird, about a week later, I was walking in the field, and I had it on the glove, I looked out of the corner of my eye, and he looked at me, she looked at me, and she grabbed my face again. And I went, what the hell? I grabbed the bird, threw it down on the ground. It turned and came back at me. Luckily, I was able to knock it away. And I thought, this bird is going to kill me, or I'm going to kill it. And I bought a hockey helmet with a mask over my face so the bird couldn't drive my face anymore. And I put a bad word on the helmet, basically, F you. If you're going to aim for me, I got you beat this time. And the bird did it again, grabbed the mask, and I went, okay, I got to get rid of this bird. I'm scared. Bird doesn't like me. I don't like it. Sent it to a breeder. And when she was at weight, like fat weight, she was a nice, calm bird. Long story short, he's breeding this bird. He goes into the pen. Another pee story, unzips his pants, peeing in the corner of the pen. The bird looks at him and comes at him full bore, hits him right in the face. And he's peas flying. I remember he was a German fellow. Peas flying everywhere. He's trying to get the bird off his face. When he told me that, that was in stitches. He goes, I never go into that pen anymore. That bird is the killer. So there's 2 Accipiter Follies for you. And that bird is produced for years. That was maybe 15, 20 years ago. But that bird, the story goes, the pea was flying everywhere and all over my leg. And I'm trying to get the bird off my face and she's sitting on eggs. And I didn't want to kill the bird. Oh, man, I was just laughing and laughing. So there's a couple of Accipiter stories for you.
Jeez. Okay, I have to ask the obvious question with the flaw, the major flaw in this story. Why, of all places, would you choose to take a leak? There?
Yeah, in a large breeding pen.
Like, why? Why not just hold it for the extra 10 seconds?
No. Hey, I get it. Observing the bird at length, and I didn't ask that question. I wasn't going there.
Well, I'm sure that he was observing at length during that whole process. The length got a lot shorter probably as that whole incident happened. But man, I don't understand. Once again, it all goes back to the whole faulty logic thing, I guess. That wouldn't have been my choice of a sequence
activities
of actions
to do in a breeding pen.
Yeah. No, I would have probably just waited the 10 to 15 seconds to walk out of the pen, exit the whole thing in general and just take a leak outside, the yard, whatever, out next to it, or I don't know, whatever. I to each their own, I guess. I guess he learned his lesson probably in that whole scenario. That's odd. Well, man, that's yeah. Well, and to that end also, as far as kind of going back for a minute to the hood making aspect of things, like what was one of the harder things for you to wrap your head around? This is something else I like to ask also. What's been one of the harder things as a hood maker for you to wrap your head around in regards to the whole craftsmanship side of things? Was there a particular technique? Was there a particular type of hood or anything like that took you a little bit longer to kind of wrap your head around?
I remember when I was starting making the hoods in that con hood, all my hoods, I do an outside stitch. And I remember a couple of guys said, you should, he wanted to order like half a dozen Dutch hoods. And I sent the pictures, goes, I've never seen that with that type of stitch. And this isn't really a folly, but I couldn't see myself doing practicing doing that hidden stitch, putting, a stitch awl or an awl into the leather. I never saw that as an advantage. It's huge. I mean, some of the finest hood makers in the world all do that stitch. And I remember talking to John Moran. He goes, make your own hood, make your own style, be what you want to be. And I never pursued it afterwards. I never pursued that hidden stitch. I mean, that's an artwork in itself. The nice tight seams or that type of thing. But it was never important, never important to me. And I always thought that when I looked at hoods, I always liked looking at stitching. What did it look like from the outside? Obviously, you didn't have an advantage to look at the inside of the hood. I don't know if that answers your question or not. Always trace your patterns, not under the influence of alcohol. Would be would be a good one, and cutting out patterns under the influence of alcohol can lead to many cut fingers. So they do not mix.
What type of alcohol are we talking about here? I know the easy answer is any kind, but what kind of things were you imbibing with at the time?
Strictly, I'm a beer drinker. I've had a few hangovers on Jack Daniels and Jim Beam, and just looking at the bottle sitting at the house, it's like, I just shake my head. So just beer. But you drink enough beer, it can influence highly your decision on where to cut and where not to cut, and how to ruin a hood.
Well, and whenever you say beer, I mean that's a whole other. That's a huge generalization right there too. Are you a commercial beer kind of guy? Are you a craft beer kind of guy? What type of beer is your favorite?
I'm cheap. I buy any light beer, Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Light, whatever's on sale. Now, got to remember, our prices are probably double what you pay for beer down there. So when I can say $5, I say $5. I love craft beer. I don't like European beer as much, and I don't like beer in green bottles for whatever reason. I just don't like the taste of beer in green bottles. I like some Mexican beers, but I'm not a connoisseur of beer. I just whenever I get to the States, I go to the liquor store, and it's like, what's the best price? Wow, I can buy 24 beers for $13. I'm buying it. I don't care how watered it down, but I'm going to buy the cheapest beer I can get.
Well, and that was going to be my next question is, I mean, what's your definition of cheap? I mean, because there's a whole other multi-tiered levels of cheap too. I mean, you've got your, like you said, your Bud Light, your Coors Light and stuff like that. But then you've also got the next level down. You've got, PBR, you've got Natty Light, you've got all that kind of stuff, which, well, boy, you're starting to get into the realm of bad.
You can get 30 beers up here, not on sale. 30 beers, Bud Light, for $60.
60?
60.
Oh my God.
60. So when I say our beer is more expensive than in the U.S., yeah, exactly with your forehead, rub it, because it's asinine what we pay. So when I can get it for $56 or for $54, I'll take it. Craft beer, they don't even sell it in 30 packs. At another 15%. So it's the U.S. Our cold isn't your cold. Our beer prices isn't your beer prices.
Obviously not, man. I'm going to start trading you beer for hoods then. Jesus.
For hoods? Yeah. Boy, if it was legal, I would do it all day long.
Oh, we'll find a way to make it legal. I'll pack that shit up so creatively you won't even be able to tell. Man, jeez.
Well, you're going to have a lot of hoods in your collection then, man.
Yeah, just keep me in hoods, and I'll keep you in Bud Light for eternity.
Yeah,
that's wow, man. That's
insane.
Nuts.
It's insane.
I mean, you can buy, fifths of, higher end. You say higher. I mean, like shit. Even like my favorite rums and stuff. I'm a rum guy, and I also am a beer guy, but it's more the craft. I like porters and stouts and stuff like that. And like even like stuff like your Kraken and some of your like higher end like commercial rum and stuff. I mean, it's like $20 to $25 for a fifth, here and stuff. I mean, that's what do they have against you all drinking beer up there? Good Lord.
Well, because we have free medical, so we'll tax everything else, but we have free medical. The caveat is we want to go to emergency. Our wait times in our emergency with our free medical is 15 to 24 hours sitting in an emergency.
Yeah,
so
it's not. I mean, everybody in the States, but not that long. And that's a whole other thing. Everybody loves to go down that topic of conversation and the whole free healthcare thing. But that's interesting though. That would make perfect sense as to why they would probably try, and that's also they're probably like, well, we'll give you free healthcare, but we're also going to like make you pay for it if you want to choose bad habits too. But yeah,
exactly.
No,
income tax and beer tax, cigarette taxes, gas tax. Our gas is double or triple what yours is. So, but we have free medical when you can get it.
Right. Yeah. Well, yikes. Okay. Well, you learned.
That's a whole different folly.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah. No, whew, well, all right. Man, that's. I probably wouldn't. That'd be the quickest thing to get me completely 100% quit drinking or anything like that for sure. Probably. Good Lord. Anyway, well, getting back to the topic at hand. Holy crap. Well, I mean, one other thing too. I mean, just going back to like thinking back to your first year or for your first season or two as an apprentice, like, were there any experiences that you did have in the field or anything like that were major, like, like, oh, well, crap, I definitely won't ever do that again, type of experiences, or, what were some of those instances like where you were just like, okay, this is something that I've done that I for sure know I can't ever do again because that was just really not good.
I have to think about that. I'm just, when I hunted the birds in British Columbia, I was only there for a couple of years before I moved back to Manitoba, and then took 84, 20 years off in between. So, that's a good question. I don't know. I can't think. I mean, I've made a lot of mistakes. We all make lots of mistakes. But was there any ones that really, really stuck out that I shouldn't do again? I can't think of one. I don't know. I can't. None of them nothing comes to mind. And as soon as this ends, I'll have 20.
It's usually how it works.
Yeah, come to mind. But, I can't. I tried to fly the right bird at the quarry that I had, and I went through, several species before I found what I wanted to do. But other than that, I cannot think of an incident. I really can't.
Well, I mean, and let me make let me field a more specific question here then. Like, and whenever you were doing the rehabbing with the eagles and stuff, were there any things that you felt like you like, what was the learning process with that? I mean, were there any mistakes that you made early on with any of those types of birds that you realized that were a little bit more? I mean, I'm assuming that a mistake that you would make with that kind of bird would be a little bit more egregious. Make sure you wouldn't want to do that again. with a bird like an eagle like that.
Yeah, the first one, the female I got, I gave her ill-fitting hoods, so she could never. You couldn't hood the bird, but she would go in a giant hood in a big box. No problem, no problem at all. Carrying an eagle that you couldn't hood 3 miles back to your car was an experience. That bird was probably 11 pounds, 10, 11, 12 pounds. And make sure that if you're going to fly an eagle, in my opinion, make sure you can hood it. From my experience. I found the eagles totally opposite from what I've read. I read everything that they bite a lot. They'll try to grab your face. I never experienced that once. I never really had any aggression towards me, other than the bird would get excited when it was on a kill and or throwing a lure at her or him. But nothing. Everything that I thought was going to arise never did. I found them. I followed Gary Brewer's How to Train a Red Tail, and it trained both of those bald eagles fine. Not golden eagles. Golden eagles could be a totally different beast, but never. Gary's tips on step to step worked very well for these eagles. Again, bald eagles, not golden eagles. But
I'm glad you specified that, because for some reason I was thinking golden eagles earlier, but that makes a lot more sense with the whole carry-on story and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
So, but ill-fitting hoods can cause lots of problems if it's a bird that you want to hood later. So, if I could pick up, an issue that I had, it was ill-fitting hoods on that first eagle. Unfortunately, golden eagles, we do get them here, but when a rehabber gets a golden eagle, they're not giving it up. They'll keep it as long as they can, and or make it an ambassador for their facility. Yeah. Which if the bird can't be released.
Yeah, it's hard once you get in those situations. I mean, I was recently told, actually, and this is something that was discussed in the podcast that I did with Jason Reed. He mentioned that basically, like, there's actually a lot of golden eagles that need placed, but for whatever reason they can't find. I guess it makes sense that, there's only so many people that are going to be able to take on even rehabbing, a bird, not even necessarily, being expected to, do all the other stuff with a golden eagle, but even taking one in, fostering one and rehabbing one and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's only so many people that are going to be capable of doing that and have the resources and time to do that.
Yeah.
But like you said, I mean, especially it's hard to it's hard to think of many other types of birds that can capture someone's and command someone's attention like that, more than say like a golden eagle. So it's easy to understand why they don't. Yeah, like it's easy to understand why the rehab type places and the different places like that want to keep him as said ambassador and stuff like that. I mean, it's easy to understand why.
Yeah, no, I always found it interesting, and here too with my experience with the eagles, especially the goldens. I have no idea how many golden eagles the rehabbers would get. Is it 2? Is it 50 a year? 20 a year? it's, I think, one of the reasons, and I've spoken to Jack Hubley for years, a long time ago. I find it odd that they only, I think they can get the bird for 2 years, and then they have to give the bird, they have to release the bird, and if the person is qualified and it was a rehab bird, I think they should be allowed to keep it. Now, I know the politics, the U.S. politics and the Canadian politics. I think that's why maybe you don't get as many people wanting to take a rehab eagle. They're not qualified, et cetera, et cetera. But, I'm going to spend all this time with my bird, and then I got to let it go in 2 years just when we've become a real team. And I think that's unfortunate, but I don't know. I'm sure they've tried to maybe change that. I don't know, but I tried to change it here, and it was a no-go. There's no way that you can have it till you feel comfortable that it can go, and then you have to let the bird go.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think that a lot of your hardcore, the small percentage of your hardcore eagle falconers, from what I've been told, are actually pretty supportive of people, going ahead and going the rehab route initially, just to make sure that those people understand what they're getting into. Also. And
yeah, that makes
especially,
sense.
And then afterwards, like you said, you got to release the bird anyway. So it's if someone discovers that it's not for them, well, the whole idea is to turn the thing back loose to the wild again.
To the wild. So. Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I'm still learning a lot about all those different ins and outs of things with the political realm and stuff too. I mean, and it changes all the time. I mean, like there's still things that are changing, daily, it seems, with a lot of these different things.
Sure.
So, but, yeah. So, I mean, is there anything else that you can think of that would be noteworthy you think of to share as far as just...
I'm going to have to pass. Jonathan, I can't think of anything. I don't know. I just my mind is a blank. I can't think of. I mean, I am such a good falconer. I've never had many mistakes. Never had any follies. So of course I can't share those because they never happened to me.
Yeah.
My fingers are crossed.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. No, that's funny. Yeah. Well, and going back to it real quick, just to ask your opinion, like in retrospect, the whole face grabbing bird type of deal.
Oh.
What do you know exactly what you did to cause that? You think? Was it food association? Or was it
the Cooper's hawk, raising it like a young macaw, putting your face up to it, doing everything you weren't supposed to do. The whole human food bond with the bird, doing it wrong, cutting the weight too much, wrong. I mean, with that bird, I couldn't have done a worse job trying to raise an IS exhibitor. Everything that you don't do, I did. And I think the bird was just frustrated. I wasn't able to get it out hunting as very often with my job, and putting the bird in scenarios where you're not going to catch thousands of dicky birds, but I didn't have the field craft to approach to give that bird I just thought you could just throw the bird off and the thing would fly down a dicky bird and kill it. Setups were wrong, and paid for it pretty quick.
Fair enough.
Raising it like a parrot or a citizen bird was probably my biggest mistake in cutting the weight.
Well, and you mentioned real quick too, I mean, this is somewhat unrelated, but I am curious. I mean, you said you've been in the pet world for a long time. I mean, was that whole side of things kind of like your main career for all these different years?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, worked in a pet food store, and then had my own little pet store. Moved back to Manitoba, worked in a chain of pet stores that were popular in the States and in Canada. So I've been in the pet industry really since I was 21, so almost 50 years. Always was a pet guy, had fish, had parrots, had some small animals, not so much small animals as much, but had one of the largest collections of venomous snakes at one time. We were talking about alcohol, and I had a bottle of Jack Daniels. I had a bottle of Jack Daniels in my snake room that I had about probably 10 snakes that if I would to get bit. Now, there was no antivenom in my city. So chances are I would have to write it out and or get it flown in at whose expense, I don't know. But I guess my thought to that was, well, if I get bit by this gaboon viper, I'm just going to lock the door and drink as much Jack Daniels as I can and say goodbye. So whenever I think of Jack Daniels, so whenever I think of Jack Daniels, I think of my snake room, but always had pets. So,
well, that's one thing that we have in common. I equivocate whiskey with death. Also, I can drink it every so often now in very short spurts, but overall, I had a near-death experience. Like the first time I ever got drunk as a teenager, it was off a fifth of Southern Comfort, and also had some Jack Daniels on top of it. And ever since then, I've not been a fan of whiskey at all. But I don't know. Like if you ask me, there was a time that I could definitely remember where if you asked me, would I rather be bitten by one of those venomous snakes or have any whiskey, I probably would have taken my chance with one of the snakes at one point in my life. But anyway, well, no, that's cool. I was just curious. I remember you mentioning that, and then I just didn't know if that was something that that was your career or just kind of a side deal or what. So I just wanted to make sure that.
Long career in the industry as a sales rep for 20 years and as a manager, trainer, and working in the pet store.
Awesome. Okay. Well, good deal. Well, I mean, I like you said, as soon as I know I hit the end recording button, I'm sure there's going to be about 5 to 10 other little examples that, that we can remember, but I've already taken up a lot of your time today. And, I guess we can go ahead and call this portion good. Also, if you can't think of anything else to share in this vein of conversation, but yeah, no, I just want to say thank you again for giving me a couple hours of your life today that you'll never get back. I appreciate you. And, no, I hope you had a good time, and I look forward to getting my new Rollins hood soon. And
it mailed last week. You should get mail from Canada 10 to 14 days, so you should get maybe towards the end of the week next week for sure. And I have lots more for sale.
Oh yeah, well, trust me, if I can get a better handle on where things are going to go over the next month or so, especially, might be hitting you up again for sure. But
did you?
Oh, and one.
Yeah, go ahead.
One other thing I forgot to ask you in the other recording was, what is your favorite hood and all the hoods that you have? Like, what's the favorite one that you own? I know it's probably a very tough question, but.
Well, it would be a Moran hood, or I've got 3 from John that. One is from a TV show from the 70s called Falcon Crest. It was a Dallas soap opera, primetime soap. And at the beginning of the TV show, they would zoom in on a prairie falcon wearing a hood of John's. And that has paintings on the inside. So that's probably probably my favorite hood. Just I used to watch the show. I always wanted to be a falconer, and I didn't have a bird, but I could watch it on the bird on Falcon Crest. And I have two rather plain hoods from John. I have an Indian Dutch hood that I got from John, and I have just a plain undyed Dutch hood, glued. That was one of John's very first hoods that he ever made. So those are probably my three favorites. Did you see the ones I was selling on Facebook? I think you made a comment on some of those.
I did. But yeah, no, I mean, hopefully the stars will align right for me, and I'll figure out that I can afford to go ahead and just make that investment, because I know it would be an investment. You know, it's just
the prices are only going to go up. I remember when John passed away, I had said that John's hoods will be one of the most sought after collectibles in falconry for decades, and especially his really artistic hoods.
Sure. All right. Well, before we go on to this topic of conversation and branch off into that again, and you get my lustful, urges to spend more money than what I have right now available. I'm just going to go ahead and have mercy on both of us here and go ahead and call this good. And like I said, Ken, we'll be in touch more, as time goes on a little bit here, and hopefully, like I said, we'll be able to meet in person sometime. It'd be cool.
Yeah, I enjoy that. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're welcome, Ken. And like I said, just go ahead and stay on here for a bit, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay.